Our hen house is a squawking house. Our hen house is their hen house. Our hen house, ooh, it's a funky fresh house. Our hen house is your hen house.
Hello and welcome to Our Hen House, a place to find our way to change the world for animals. Joining us today will be Jose Franco, a juicy guy with a passion for fruits and vegetables who is going to fill our stomachs with beets and our hearts with compassionate eating. Or should I say drinking?
I'm thirsty just thinking about all that juice. Then we'll be joined by one of our favorite performers, musician Joy Askew. I love her. Joy's music is just beautiful. It really is, which in and of itself would be reason enough to share it with you. But what makes it so very special for us is the way Joy is able to use her music to express what she feels about animals and what's happening to them and what's happening to some of the people who care about them.
Absolutely. I'm so excited about that. And in addition to having these two fabulous guests on our show today, we'll also fill you in on what's been happening with animals lately. But first, we'll catch you up on what we've been up to. So please, pull up some hay. Let's get squawking. Hello, Marianne.
Hi, Jasmine.
Here we are again.
I'm pretty excited about this week's show.
I am so excited about it. And one of my best main goals in the Our Hen House show is to highlight artists and musicians who are speaking up for animals. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from Joy. And having Jose on is going to be amazing because his store, Stoop Juice, is just around the corner from us in Park Slope, so now you can effectively stalk us. And even
I'm sure everybody wants to stalk us.
Well, you can
That's why they watch the show.
That's why. And even in the short time since we have lived here, we have become regulars so quickly, and I just love it. I love the fact that we're in Brooklyn. And do you actually love my dress?
I do love your dress. I've loved it since the day you married me.
I married you wearing this dress. This was my wedding dress. It was a City Hall wedding.
That dress is so cute. It's so retro.
It's a cute dress. I have to tell you though, something very funny. I thought it was like this one-of-a-kind thing, and a friend of mine lives in Utah, Angie, and she just texted me and said, I was at this fabric store. Is this your wedding dress? And she texted me, and it's this fabric. I didn't feel that special.
So it's one of a kind when it's on you.
Oh, well, that's very sweet. But yeah, here we are in Brooklyn, and
yes, we are.
We are so psyched because we have found out just in the past week, we have found out about 2 new vegetarian restaurants that opened here in Brooklyn.
Yeah, I think they might be both vegan too. It's really insane. But the Hartwell Vegetarian
on Cortelio Road.
On Cortelio, yeah, which isn't that far from us. And I heard it's off the hook.
Okay.
I heard it's terrific. I think it's kind of Caribbean.
I'm in.
And then Buna Cafe.
Oh, I've been hearing so many wonderful things about this place.
Totally.
We're going to go and bring a camera. And that's going to be mean to all of our viewers because they're not going to be able to eat it.
I know, but then they'll find out about it, and then they can go to Buna Cafe. And it's Ethiopian. I love Ethiopian food.
Who doesn't? Well, I like anything that you could do with your hands. And that's the thing about Ethiopian food is that you're just...
I'm not even going to go there.
Just digging in. But you know, you and I were driving across the country. Marianne was the visiting professor of farmed animal law and animal law. Farmed animal law, interesting. We'll have to talk about that sometime. And
it was a whole course, so we have to set aside some time.
We had our darling Rose with us, who you saw at the beginning of the show, the darling pit bull at the beginning in the intro.
She was so good. She really had never really driven in a car before that. Much, and she used to throw up all the time when she got in the car, but she did
TMI.
so well driving across.
This is the TMI section.
No, everybody wants to hear about Rose.
No, they really don't want to hear about our dog's vomit. But we were driving across the country.
They do.
And we took 2-lane highways, no interstates for us. And I had this, do you remember the app that I used?
Oh, totally. Veg Out.
Veg Out.
I couldn't live without it.
It's powered by happycow.net.
There's a lot of those kind of apps
there
now.
Are.
That I don't know what people did before them. How did you find vegan food?
Well, you ate at Chinese restaurants, which is a good old standby.
There's a Chinese restaurant in every town in this country.
And they usually have tofu.
Unbelievable.
But anyway, so I had this app and I became like obsessed obsessed with it. And like as you said, there are other ones. So just type in vegan into your app store. But Veg Out is so great because every time you're anywhere, you just like refresh it, and it generates this list for you of all of the vegan, vegetarian, and vegan friendly restaurants.
Yeah, it's not just vegan restaurants.
Right.
It's restaurants that have good options, and I think it's crowdsourced, so it just keeps growing and growing as people add things in their own area or as they're traveling. It's an amazing resource. And then there was one like completely amazing Veg Out moment.
I know when
we were outside of Chicago, about 45 minutes outside of Chicago, and we weren't even ready for a meal, I don't think. We wanted to get some traveling done, and you were just fooling around. And we were in Rockford, Illinois.
Yep.
And what did we find?
We found a 100% vegan microbrewery and restaurant. And I said, honey, stop the car. And we stopped, and you actually thought it was a joke.
Well, I mean, at first I thought it was serious, but then when we got there, and Rockford is like, it's a pretty big place. I mean, it's a small city, really. It's like a blue-collar city in Illinois, and I mean, not to be stereotyping anybody, but it just doesn't strike you where there's going to be a vegan microbrewery. And then we pulled up to this place. It was hard to find. You had to drive around behind this shopping mall. There were a lot of shopping malls. And down this road. And then we come to this like roadhouse, and it's kind of brand new looking and very nice looking. And it's packed. I mean, there's cars all over the place. And I was like, this has got to be a lie. Somebody put this up there as a joke to fool people so they would come to this bar and think they were getting vegan food.
Right. But did you just say vegan?
I did.
That was weird.
It's my grandmother. I'm channeling a person from the past saying vegan.
Well, when you're vegan and a vegan, it just means that you like Suzanne Vega and that you're a tofu muncher.
I do like Suzanne Vega.
In the Hen House.
All right,
Anyway,
moving on. Rockford, Illinois. So we set the scene.
It's called a Pig's Mind Brewery, and I don't even drink beer, and you said drink the beer. And
come on, you're in a brewery.
I drank it, indeed, I did.
They had chocolate beer.
They did, and they had totally vegan food. It was like bar food. Anyway, it was so good. Brian Endel was the owner, I believe, and we wound up interviewing him for our podcast, and it was like the best part of our trip.
That food was amazing. It was really high-end bar food.
Yeah, well, the point is,
these little sliders.
Oh, just
they're amazing.
Stop it. We're gonna see later if Jose can juice some vegan sliders for us. And anyway, my point is that it's everywhere. We're everywhere, and this food is everywhere.
He had just been a vegan for most of his life, and he loved beer, and he wanted to start a brewery with some of his friends, and he was like, well, I'm not going to start it if I can't serve vegan food. So they made it vegan. It was so popular.
It was outstanding. And you know, it's great that we're going to be exploring all of this on the show because I love the positivity that comes with, I guess you could call it food advocacy. But in addition to that,
I love the food that comes with food advocacy.
There is that. But we've also been showing some footage of animal exploitation on our show, which you probably noticed, and it's always a little tough to know how to handle that.
Yeah, it's just an ongoing process. I mean, I don't want to traumatize people, and communicating about animal issues can be really difficult. And you show people that footage, they can get angry sometimes, and I don't blame them. It's very hurtful. But how else are we going to get the truth out? So, I mean, I guess what we'll try to do and what we've been thinking about is just keep it short. Because you watch it too long and you have nightmares. I mean, even sometimes you watch a little bit, but it's what's happening to the animals. So we kind of have to go there. I feel it's my responsibility, but I do understand why people just don't want to see that.
Right, and it's something we'll continue to visit on, regularly because we have so much positivity to talk about too. There's so much to celebrate, so much to eat, so many pigs to pet, so many wonderful things to do, and I'm excited about that. I really am.
And there are so many problems in communicating about animal issues and different ways to do it. And all too often people think that the only way that animal activists really do their activism is just to be a bunch of loudmouths out on the street with a bunch of signs, holding signs and yelling and traumatizing people.
But I've been that person.
Yeah, I have too.
I have, but
I'm not ashamed of it.
No, and there's definitely a place for protesting, and I love it. But it's true though that there are a multiplicity of ways in when it comes to changing the world for animals, and that I think is the essence of our Hen House. And this is one particular way. This is a protest that I actually there I am in the orange jacket, and there
you
you
are.
are right behind me. And we have definitely done our share of protesting.
You look cute, honey.
Thank you. But in addition to doing this protesting, I'm a writer. You do animal law. We
do a television show. Have you heard that?
There's that. There's
Yeah.
our Hen House.
Yeah.
And Joy Askew, who's going to be on later, is such a brilliant example of how you can use art to influence change, and that's a big part of our Hen House too. So I think it's really important to notice that in addition to protesting, there's so many different ways to be involved. That protest that we just showed, that was over at the Barclays Center, and it's so interesting to note too that this circus was recently at the Barclays Center. Again, that protest was last year, so they recently had another one. You and I were guest hosts on BK Live that week where we were talking about it, and since then we've had two people just here at Brooklyn Independent Media tell us, I had no idea. Our makeup artist, Marsha, was telling us, I had no idea. I'm not going to go to the circus again. She told her 7-year-old daughter. Her 7-year-old daughter said, I'm not going. But the great thing is that there's people-friendly circuses as well. And that's part of the importance of protesting, because we are opening people's eyes. You began your animal rights career in a lot of ways protesting.
Yeah, pretty much. It was years ago, and there was a fur store in my neighborhood that I really hated, and they were horrible people, and they had it was just dripping with these horrible furs, and a group of people just started to gather there every Saturday and hold up some signs and yell, which is what people do. and I felt it was really, in some ways, it really was not within my comfort zone. It was not the kind of thing I like to do, but it got me out there, and I met people who I just loved. I mean, they were really fine people. They weren't idiots, and a lot of what protesting has to do with is talking to people on the street. I mean, you're handing out leaflets, and a lot of people just brush you off, but some of them really want to know.
Of course.
And you have opportunities for great conversations that really enlighten people about what's going on with animals.
Yeah, and these protests that you're talking about that you were doing, that was 20 years ago, and at the time there were a lot fewer opportunities for changing the world for animals like we have now. And you know, I am just so excited because I loved Allison Mercer's piece on our Hen House's online magazine a few weeks ago about protesting, which you could find at ourhenhouse.org. This was such an important piece because she was talking about her own transition into a person who actually attended animal exploitation events such as the circus and going to the aquarium, to a person who was outside standing up against it.
Yeah, I actually love the title of it, Getting Over My Nerves Long Enough to Participate in My First Protest. It's very like her.
Yeah.
She's a very refined, reserved person, and yet she felt that for this particular event, that was the right way to approach it. Mm-hmm. And she talks about how she went from a person who attended animal exploitation events, and went to the aquarium, and not 1 year later, she was a person who was protesting them.
Yeah, I like in the article, she actually says, I wasn't sure what to expect once I got out there in front of the Georgia Aquarium. And the next day, sporting a sign saying, this is no party for animals, I joined PETA protesters in our quest to get the Atlanta Pride Festival organizers to move the opening party to a different, more humane venue.
Seriously, what were they doing having their party at the aquarium?
Really?
Don't they know anything?
Well, now they do. While I stood there, Allison's article says, trying to change the hearts and minds of the organizers as well as the patrons of the aquarium, I had a shameful flashback, and we could all relate to this. A short 10 months prior to the event, I was inside the very walls of the aquarium I was protesting. It wasn't until I became vegan and watched documentaries like Blackfish that I fully understood the cruelty that I was contributing to when visiting places like the Georgia Aquarium. At the protest, I was painfully aware that these people passing by on the street to see the orcas weren't strangers. They were me. If I could change in that short amount of time, maybe they could too. They were me.
Yeah, no, that is so inspiring, and that is exactly what it's all about, reminding us all that everyone is naive about what's going on with animals, and we just have to work on giving them the information and changing their minds, and we can do that in all different ways. There's just no one right way to do anything, including speaking up for animals. The important thing to remember is that when it comes to animals, most people's hearts and minds really are in the same place. Most people want to do right by animals.
There's that one guy who's like, I'm going to screw these animals.
Unfortunately, there's more than one. But,
yeah.
But
But,
not the majority.
Right, and I think it's really an exciting time to be involved. I truly do.
Oh,
and
totally. Things are changing so fast.
We are almost at this tipping point that we keep talking about, and when you think about what's going on with animals, you would think that the one kind of animal we should be able to take care of properly is dogs, because people love their dog, but unfortunately, that's not always the case. But I hear there might be some progress on that front. Say that there is.
Yeah, I think so. There's some sort of progress, maybe not huge, but it's getting there. And there was this recent article in the Chicago Sun-Times about a new law in Chicago about pet stores. And that article certainly takes the position that things are improving for puppies. Mm-hmm. And people don't even know how bad things are for puppies.
Yeah, of course, in my opinion, the best place to get a dog is to adopt one. Like those dogs we had on the show last week.
Oh, I love those dogs.
Yeah, I hope that they have homes now.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
Of course they do.
But even if they don't, there are many, many others at Brooklyn Animal Care and Control who are looking for new homes.
Yeah, I'm sure that if people are wanting to adopt a dog, they're now completely understanding that that's the way to go. Because as I said last week, even if you buy a dog and you think it's the most benign, big quotes here, benign circumstance, an animal at a shelter is going to lose his or her life because there are only so many slots. And unfortunately, most people don't go to the shelter for a dog, which is not only bad for the dogs at the shelter, but can also end up pretty tragically for the person who wants a dog. Because puppies from pet stores are so frequently riddled with issues.
Yeah, people don't even realize.
They don't even realize it. Yeah, and for one thing, people think that purebred dogs are better, but they're just not.
No, they're definitely not. And that's just a huge amount of misinformation that people have. Dogs from pet stores, even if they were bred by, great breeders, which they aren't, but even if they were the best of the best, purebred dogs frequently have a lot of genetic problems, and that's because in order to get them to look a certain way, which is what their breed requires, they have to be inbred, and that could look at what happens to these animals is awful. These Cavalier King Charles Spaniels, they have this particular genetic disease that causes their brains to be too small for their heads, and they're suffering their whole lives. Yeah. Other breeds have almost every breed. I think actually every breed has certain genetic problems, and breeders will kill the ones who they know have it and just let the other ones continue, but it never stops because you can't inbreed animals and have them come out healthy.
Yeah, it's just
it's a sick
well,
business.
I actually kind of stopped listening when you said their brains are too big for their skulls.
It causes them terrible pain.
Aside from the genetic problems, the puppy mills themselves can be really awful places, can't they?
Oh, the puppy mills are just terrible. I mean, I was talking before about good breeders. Most breeders are not good breeders, and some of them are true hellholes. Mm-hmm. That these animals, the mothers live their whole lives in these little cages, and sometimes in basements, and they're living in travel crates, and they just churn out puppies after puppies. They're bred for every heat cycle, which is totally not what you're supposed to do with dogs. And the Humane Society and other organizations are constantly uncovering these backyard breeders, and even the more reputable of the big breeders, the ones that are churning out the puppies that you find in every single pet store, they're terrible. I mean, they may be in compliance with the Animal Welfare Act, but that people think that means something. It means very, very little. I mean, it may be better than what you saw in that film, but it might be a little cleaner, and the cages might be a little more well kept and ventilated. But basically, these are dogs. The mothers are living in cages for their lives, just breeding puppy after puppy after puppy, who are then taken away from them far too young. And all right, so I said I would talk about progress. And,
what's being done about this? This is the thing. This is what people are watching this right now, and they're like, ah! That's what they're saying right now. They're saying, ah! And I'm like, ah! So what's being done about it? Tell me. Give me a reason to hope.
Well, people are much, much more aware of puppy mills than they used to be. I think this is an area that really has reached mainstream consciousness. And so people are declining to buy animals from pet stores. And a number of cities, and Chicago is the latest one, Los Angeles is another one, are stepping up to the plate and banning the sale of dogs from puppy mills and banning the sale of dogs, in fact, and just requiring pet stores to adopt out dogs from the shelter. And I think it's a wonderful, wonderful development. Of course, it's not going to solve the problem in and of itself. As people say, people can just go to the suburbs if they want to buy a dog. It's not going to solve the problem. And then an increasing number of dogs are sold over the internet, and that's a whole nightmare in and of itself. But people are starting to become aware, and I think as these cities pass these ordinances, it makes people more aware. Well, why can't I buy a puppy in this city? And it's because there's something wrong with that business, and it's exploiting animals in horrible, horrible ways. Even as you said before, dogs, if we can't get it right about dogs,
well,
like, what's the story?
I think we're going to get
Those
there.
are the animals we love.
And when we're walking Rose, our dog, and people say, oh, I love your dog, the first thing we say, she's a rescue. You know, we want to get people to know this.
And everybody wants a dog just like Rose.
They do.
Because she's just the cutest dog.
She's so cute. And like I said before, you'd think that we could get it right with dogs, but still there's a lot of cruelty going on in the way dogs are bred. And it's a reality going on behind the scenes. But fortunately, it's incredibly easy for all of us to change the world for animals in so many ways. And one of the people who is doing that right here in Brooklyn and making park slippers like me a whole lot healthier to boot is joining us in just a few minutes. Jose Franco is the creator and proprietor of Stoop Juice, and he is going to be joining us and actually demonstrating how he makes one of the most delicious concoctions I myself have ever tried.
I love this juice that he's going to make us. Juice and smoothies are, of course, all the rage.
Love
I
that.
can't believe how they've exploded.
Yeah.
As well, they should be, because consuming them is incredibly easy. Way to stuff yourself full of all of the nutrients in fruits and vegetables, which are the foods that everybody should be eating loads of. And we are heavily into the world of juice and smoothies, I have to say.
Yeah.
One of the first places we found when we very recently moved to our neighborhood was Stoop Juice. And I love the fact that the juices there aren't bottled. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with bottled juices, but there's just something about getting a great, fresh, homemade juice.
Yeah, I love that too. I think it's really important. And while Jose is setting up, we're going to introduce you to someone else who's just as important.
You're not going to believe
No, you're not
this.
going to believe this. Little Miss Sunshine, though probably not the one you're thinking of. This Little Miss Sunshine is from Edgar's Mission, a sanctuary for rescued farmed animals in Australia. And we promise you that you don't want to miss this.
Hi, my name's Paula and I'm from Edgar's Mission Farm Sanctuary, and this is my friend Little Miss Sunshine. Now, Little Miss Sunshine here is a spent battery hen, which means she spent her entire life confined within a small wire cage with several other hens, and at just 18 months of age they no longer produced enough eggs to make them commercially viable or valuable. But just a few months ago, we here at Edgar's Mission rescued Little Miss Sunshine and her friends because we know that they're so much more than just egg-producing machines. And today, Little Miss Sunshine and I are proud to present our brand new series, Bird Brain. Aren't we?
Little Miss Sunshine, come on! Come do your tricks! Come on, darling! Come on! Good girl! Come on, Sunshine! Come on! Up here! Up here!
Now, Little Miss Sunshine, are you a goat? Are you a pig? Are you a cow? Are you another pig? Or are you a chicken? Let's see. You're a chicken. Well done. You're a chicken. Good girl. Which one are you? Which one are you? You're a chicken. You're a very clever chicken. Which one are you? You're a chicken. Well done. How about now? Shiny, which one are you? Oh, you're a chicken. Now who are you? Well done. Well done. You're a very clever chicken. Pretty clever, huh? So next time someone calls you a bird brain, just say thank you. It could be the greatest compliment you've ever received.
how much do we love those chickens. They are some fabulous chickens. And you are also a fabulous bird brain, which is a compliment. Welcome to our hen house, Jose.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's an honor for us to have you.
I'm really sorry you had to follow Little Miss Sunshine. It's a hard act to follow, but you're gonna be great.
Yeah, you're gonna be
Don't
great.
worry.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Because you got the kale.
Yeah, well, kale,
yeah.
It's all the rage, kale. Where was kale when we were growing up? That's what I want to know. Why is it suddenly so famous?
I think kale is big now because of its properties, and now with the huge influx of people having cancer, that's one of the allures of kale.
Well, because there's so many nutritional properties that's inherent and phytonutrients in fruits and vegetables, and that's one reason why we love Stoop Juice, which is your store. And we are regulars, I admit. And I love it. Tell us why juicing has suddenly become so popular. What is so fabulous about juicing?
In a nutshell, juicing is a good source to get chlorophylls. And chlorophylls, if you're juicing, you want to juice greens. That's where you get nutrients in your body that alkalines your body and helps your immune system.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're juicing, you get even more of the nutrients than you do if you were eating. Eating this stuff is obviously good for you, but juicing gives you even more of those nutrients, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. By removing the fiber, you don't have to digest the fiber, and through the juice, you get the benefit of the nutrients without having to have your body digest the fiber. That's the benefit of juicing.
So you at Stoop Juice, you have juices and you have smoothies. Could you talk a little bit about some of the benefits of juices versus smoothies and smoothies versus juices?
Sure. I mean, smoothies are great. It's a nice meal replacement. Most of our smoothies have a plant-based protein, and that works as it's better than having, let's say, simple sugars. You'll be having complex sugars that goes into your body, and your body breaks them down a lot slower, meaning it doesn't go into your blood, and then you digest them. Whereas juicing, it's the same thing, but you don't have the fiber, you don't have the bulk, and also, for the most part, the sugar content in juicing is usually a lot less.
Okay. This is noted. This is interesting because we juice fast quite a lot, and I have started to have smoothies during juice fasts. Do you think that that's allowed to have fiber when you're having juices?
I'm not giving up my smoothies. Like, don't even go here.
I just wonder if you could mix and mingle.
I mean, we all march to a different drum.
That means yes.
And whatever works for you, and we all have different ranges. But with juicing, as long as you follow the protocol of 70-30, you want 70% to be vegetables, 30% you want it to be fruits. And smoothies have their place.
They do, and you you don't live with Jasmine's, which occasionally means that you have to dance to her drum.
I beg your pardon.
But I think that we can fit smoothies in, even when we're juicing. And then there's the whole problem of when we're actually eating all the time, and
Right.
we're definitely fitting smoothies in then, because I love them. And I love your smoothies. Juicing, like 5 years ago, I'm not sure I knew what juicing was, and now it's all the rage. Have you noticed a big difference in your business?
Big difference. And within juicing, there are differences. There's shops that just provide juicing, and then there's shops that focus on organic and having integrity. And it's, as long as, I think if people had the choice and the option, this is how they would eat. It just has to be economically viable for businesses to offer it. Because if people are selling juices and smoothies and they're paying their bills, they're going to keep doing it. It's very simple. It's just, there'll be a time. I don't think it's yet, but there'll be a time where it's not an exclusive neighborhood or the better neighborhoods that have the juice shop.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because there's such truth in that, right, Marianne, about the fact that fruit and vegetables is just, it's not subsidized by...
I know, compared to animal-based foods, which are not good for you at all, and aside from being bad for animals and the planet, fruits and vegetables don't receive government subsidies. So people are paying a lot more for them, and as a result, people who of limited means, they
they're not getting all of these nutrients, which would keep them healthy, which would keep health costs down. It's crazy. I mean, there's been some reform of that, but not nearly enough. Animal agriculture in this country is far too powerful. Well, what about, you have a 9-year-old, I understand.
Yes, I do.
How do you feel about the way kids are fed and how kids are fed at schools? Are you seeing any improvements?
I mean, in general, in my immediate circle, I would say yes, obviously, because I have the means and my little girl is exposed to what I know and what my wife knows and what we feed her. But for the most part, we have a long way to go.
Yeah.
We have a very long way to go.
We should not be feeding our kids junk.
No, I think that this is what's going to save everything. It's going to save the world. This piece of kale right here.
Isn't there that T-shirt, "Only Kale Can Save Us Now"?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's herbivore clothing that has that shirt. Right. Kale. Yeah. It's herbivore. So Jose, I understand that you, like me, like Marianne, have undergone a substantial weight loss, and this ties into your own personal juicing story. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. About 4 years ago, I became vegan, and in the process, the first 60 days I lost 50 pounds.
Wow!
And the first 120 days I lost 70 pounds.
Very nice.
Good Lord!
Yeah.
That's incredible.
That is
How did you do that?
Yeah, how did you do that?
Were you eating vegan
cupcakes so
fast?
No, I juice fast. I walked a lot. When I started, I said to myself, I want to lose weight in a way that, regardless of my age, if I, let's say, fall off the wagon, I can go back. And that was the thing. I would walk and I just nourish myself with juices, and the rest is history.
Once you find the right way, it becomes easy. Yeah. Even if you've struggled with it like your whole life, if you find the right way that really works, and if you incorporate all of these unbelievably healthy foods, it becomes so much easier than it ever was before. That was my experience.
I know, me too. I lost 100 pounds, as a lot of the people who follow our Hen House's podcast know, because it's been quite a journey for me, and I regularly juice fast, and I eat whole foods-based items, in their most unprocessed form. But in addition to that, every now and then I kick back, I have my chocolate beer and my, my vegan cupcake. But for the most part, and though of course I'm vegan, and that would never change, I definitely strive more for making this the center of my dish.
Well, when you eat like this some of the time, then you can eat more indulgently at other times. It's all balance. It's all a balance.
And speaking of balance, I want some balance in my life by way of a smoothie, because you are planning on making us something today. What are you going to make us?
Well, what we're making today is a smoothie that there's a story behind that too. It was a smoothie I would make for myself. And that smoothie, I named it the Resolution. Well, my wife named it the Resolution. At the end of the day, she calls the shots. Make sure you get that.
The ginger shots.
Right? That's good.
Thank you.
So what would happen, customers would see me drinking this, and they're like, hey, what's that?
Well, yeah.
And sure enough, there were like about 24 customers that would be like, make the one for you. And, then the rest is history, and now it's on the menu.
Well, it's just one of my favorite smoothies I've ever had. It's sensational.
We did put in a special request for the Resolution.
Too many smoothies are just fruit. I mean, people don't think of including vegetables in smoothies, but once you do, wow, it's delicious.
We start off every morning with a smoothie that has loads of kale and vegetables in it. But tell us what's going to be in our Resolution today.
Well, the Resolution has beet juice, that's the base.
Okay.
The base is beet juice. It has kale. Mm-hmm. It has spinach. It has gluten-free granola. It has a plant-based protein. And it has ginger. It has shots of ginger in it. And that's pretty much it.
It has bananas in it, right?
It does have bananas. But the bananas, I forgot to bring the bananas.
We have because of the magic of TV.
No bananas.
Yes, we have no bananas. No singing. We're going to make this and then magically have one that has bananas in it.
Yeah.
So let's try it.
Sure.
This is their Vitamix. It came right from our kitchen.
So just
let's do it. Let's see. Tell us what you're putting in.
Okay, the first thing is everything at Stoop Juice is organic, and because if I can't sell it, I have to eat it. That's the motto. So if I'm not selling
that's beet juice. So you would have already juiced it.
Yeah, this is beet juice.
I love beet juice. You know what's interesting about beet juice, and this might also be in TMI territory. You know precisely the amount of time it takes your body to digest it.
Yes.
You get terrified for approximately 5 seconds, and then you're like, the beets.
No, you remember. You remember.
You remember.
The next thing I'm putting in kale. And kale, forget about it. Kale, you can't go wrong with kale.
That guy.
Then we'll go with some spinach.
Spinach, I find that you could put a significant amount into your smoothie and you won't even taste it. Kale, I feel like there's a ceiling.
Yeah.
Like you can only go so far as the amount of kale, but spinach, you could just keep putting it in. Okay.
You know, what you mentioned before, I just want to reiterate it. There was no kale when I was a kid.
Right.
I never even heard of it. And now it's just everybody's favorite vegetable. It's my favorite vegetable. I love kale.
Well, mentioning kale, I'm Puerto Rican. The only thing I knew, it's not that no Puerto Ricans know about kale, but for me, iceberg lettuce, and that was it.
Yeah.
That was it. That was it.
That was a mainstay of my childhood.
Iceberg lettuce. We peaked at iceberg lettuce.
Yep.
The next thing I'm putting in is ginger, and this
Can
is.
I smell that?
Sure.
I
help yourself.
love. We're having. That's all right. We're getting a little fun here with the ginger juice. Oh.
Yeah, that's.
I feel like I'm getting healthier by smelling it. Is
Ginger
that
is
possible?
so good for you.
Yes,
It purifies.
and it's anti-inflammatory. It's similar to turmeric. It's very good for you, and
But it tastes so much better.
I agree with you. I
Yeah.
agree with you. I really enjoy ginger.
And
This I have never heard of. This is a great idea.
This is granola.
This is granola.
This is.
We vegans know our granola. Kumbaya, my lord, kumbaya. Oh, no singing.
No
I'm sorry.
singing.
Okay, this is.
We
This
have a
is,
singer on.
This is.
It's true. I'll leave the singing to our next segment.
This is the granola.
Okay.
I try to be generous with the granola.
And you said that was gluten-free?
Gluten-free granola.
Okay, to be honest, I could care less if it was gluten-free, but I know there's at least 35 people watching this that are like, gluten-free, yeah!
And last but not least, what we do is we put in the brand we use at Stoop Juice is Sun Warrior,
I
and we
love Sun
only
Warrior.
use the raw vegan blend, the raw vegan protein blend, and we use the vanilla flavored one.
Okay, and this is based with pea protein and cranberry protein. I never heard of that before. And hemp seed protein. Nice.
No,
You know,
it's
there was just that recent study saying that over the age of 50, and I think it was 50, that the worst thing you can eat is animal-based protein. But it increases your risk of cancer dramatically, but plant-based protein makes no difference whatsoever.
Nice.
and
And that's probably not just over the age of 50. That's who the study was about.
and this company in particular is a small family company that they don't have their act together, but their product is first and foremost.
I think that was a good statement about
Yeah.
Sun Warrior. I always buy Sun Warrior.
Yeah,
I don't always. I also buy
fulfillment
Vega.
could be tricky, but the product with what you're looking
Okay.
for, it's like going to a restaurant and the food is horrible, but the service is great. This is the opposite.
Okay.
The product is great.
Yeah, that happens, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
So make this
Sometimes
for
you have
us.
to make sacrifices to get good products.
This is a loud noise
Doesn't
that
always
my
go together.
3-year-old niece is scared of. I always have to tell her, we're about to turn the Vitamix on, and she goes like this. But this is just such a amazingly powerful machine. May I?
Sure.
I love the Vitamix. And it comes with like a big thing. Look at that. By the magic of TV,
Uh-huh.
I'm going to hand you yours, Jose,
Sure.
and I'm going to hand me mine.
What about me?
No,
oh, thank
no,
you, Jose.
we have a special one for Marianne. So that one's
Oh.
Jose's. And
special
Marianne,
about
our friend Danielle, who's our PA today and is our outreach manager, knows that it's your birthday this week and that
come
we're
on.
juice fasting. And so she made you a happy
Oh my
birthday
God.
jar.
That's the cutest
Oh.
thing.
And it says
nice.
happy birthday, and there's a chicken on it as well. So you're not getting a cake because we're in the middle of a juice fast now. So this is the second best thing, which is
Danielle,
a resolution.
thank you so much. This is adorable.
Yeah, and there's your.
We could sell these.
Woo. And I'm really excited because in addition to having a wonderful birthday girl on with us today, and in addition to having this incredible resolution, all of your cups and other products are also very eco-friendly, right?
We only use
love that.
greenware at Stoop Juice. It's something that, I don't know, before I opened the shop, I had a vision of I want to do the right thing, but I don't want to see floating plastic cups. in the Pacific Ocean.
I love
So-
that you do that.
Yeah, me too. Well,
Good for you.
let's do a toast for Marianne's birthday.
thank
Cheers.
you.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Thank
birthday.
you.
I'm going to try my resolution.
Do I get to drink?
This is the part that I'm good at.
This is
It's
about
so
to become
good.
inappropriate.
It's so good.
Thank you so much. This is absolutely outstanding.
It's so much better than you would think, knowing that it's full of spinach and kale. I mean, people are looking at it now and thinking we're crazy.
No, but it's
they're
absolutely
wrong.
delicious. You have
They're
to go
totally
to
wrong.
Stoop Juice, and you'll probably see us there. And Jose, thank you so much for joining us today in our hen house.
Thank you for having
I hope
me.
that you'll stick around with us because we're about to have a very musical guest. Joy Askew is going to join us. And she's a musician who's really, truly using her prodigious talent to change the world for animals. She started her career as a musician touring with Joe Jackson, playing with the likes of the Rolling Stones, The Who, and the Grateful Dead. And she has also toured with Laurie Anderson and Peter Gabriel, and she's released numerous solo albums, most recently Drunk on You, and I am drunk on this resolution. Joy has also been a passionate activist on behalf of farmed animals for 10 years now. It's so exciting that we're going to have her on.
We actually made a video about her a few years ago, and I think if we show you a little clip of that, it will really give you an idea of what this woman is all about. She's incredible, and you're going to be blown away.
Truly.
How does your art inform your activism? How do you blend the two?
Very naturally, I think. I can't help myself. Originally, I'm really from the north of England, although I was born basically in London. Well, actually now I live in Brooklyn, but we moved up to the north of England, Newcastle upon Tyne, when I was very young, and that's a very specific place to grow up because it's so different. You know, everybody speaks a language, Geordie, a dialect that nobody can understand. So it's a very strong place to come from, and a lot of great musicians like Sting and John McLaughlin, the guitar player, and myself, and the Animals, and people like that come from Newcastle. So I think the most amazing thing that happened for me was that I've been a musician for a long time, and for many, many years I didn't pay any attention to lyrics. I was definitely on the music side. You know, I went to jazz college, I played several instruments. It was the music that really carried me. I used to listen to a lot of instrumental music. Miles Davis was like my mentor for years. Once I began listening to lyrics, I realized that I hadn't a clue. So once I began writing them, it was very, very hit and miss. You know, I didn't really have a lyrical style. I think in 2004 I went to the premiere of Peaceable Kingdom. You know, the movie had a great effect on me. I sobbed all the way through it. It also really turned me into an activist. But the thing that it made me, the most amazing thing that it made me do was I went straight home. The image of the downed cow in an alleyway, and I went home and I knew, I mean my whole skin was on fire. You know, like that feeling when you just, that I had to sit down and write this song, and I had to write it good. What I wanted to do was write a song that would go to the world. So therefore I'm not preaching and yet showing, not telling, you know. And I made it ambiguous so that in fact, if you wanted to see it as maybe a child victim of war, or a soldier victim of war, or a civilian, so if you wanted to see it in human terms, it would still make sense. You know, and it began, in the dark, I heard you cry, helpless I was standing by. You were down and you had fallen in an alleyway, forgotten.
In the dark, I heard you cry, helpless I was standing by.
Now I knew I was writing from the image that I'd seen in film of the downed animal.
You were down and you had fallen in an alleyway, forgotten.
And as I say anyone could, that could have been a victim of war. And it was very important that I did this, and it was absolutely agonizing writing it.
Where are the souls behind the faces of those who let these sad disgraces happen?
Apart from the fact that I was weeping a lot when I was doing it, I had to keep the images completely fresh in my head.
My tears cry for forgiveness, 'cause in my heart I want no part of it.
So I think I went for a whole weekend and just sat on the sofa kind of weeping and writing and weeping and writing.
If there's a reason for man's cruel side, we'll be released there one day, but out of sight and mind, the blood red won't wash it all away. Muscle for muscle, you are innocent, and we are our souls beneath the skin together.
I wrote pages and pages, distilled it down to about 6 or 7 lines.
How do we go wrong this way? And surely they'll be held to pay
But then I knew that I had a song.
for making you suffer. And it's a poor man's greed gets so wicked.
Beautiful song, and you're going to play that for us in a few minutes. It's such a beautiful video and such a beautiful woman and performer next to me. Thank you so much for coming to our Hen House, Joy. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm really proud that you have this show. It's fantastic.
Oh, thanks. And you live right here in Brooklyn. We're so excited to be sharing a borough with you.
Yes.
At long last.
At long last. And speaking of long last, you've been an advocate for animals for a decade now, same time as me. What was it that initially turned the light on for you?
I think it was Farm Sanctuary at the beginning. And I started doing their walk for the animals a couple of years, but I didn't become an activist. And then when I went to one of those, I got notice of the premiere of Peaceable Kingdom. And so I went to that at Lincoln Center, and it just changed everything. Now I said, I don't want to just give money. I don't want to just stand on the sidelines. I have to do something.
Good for you.
And I came out of there really, I mean, I felt like my whole body was shaking when I came out of there. And just by chance, I lived on the Upper West Side, and just by chance, a couple of days later, I was walking up on Broadway, 96th Street, and there was a lady on the corner with a table all set up, and I realized it had animal activist leaflets on the table.
Wow.
That was meant to be.
And I recognized her from the walk for the animals from Farm Sanctuary, and it was Carol Moon, who was at that time working for Farm Sanctuary in New York City. And I went up and I said, how can I help? How can I start working with you? And she was like, well, why don't you sign here and put your name? And I went, no, I don't want to sign. I don't want to wait. I want to do it now.
I love that. That's so great.
And,
well, you were clearly on fire.
I was on fire.
What was happening.
And she was a little bit shocked, but you know, she trained me amazingly. We started doing tabling 2 days a week at Penn Station and Grand Central Station. And that was a fantastic kind of training for me to talk to people, run footage of Meet Your Meat on a constant loop, you know, which is not pleasant.
It's not, but your music is pleasant. And what I love about you, Joy, is that you have combined this passion for your music with your passion for animal activism. How did you start connecting the dots with that?
Well, Peaceable Kingdom, again, did, I think as you saw earlier in the video, it did say, when I saw the down count, I felt like I had to write something. But quite honestly, my writing is honest. I write from my own experience. I don't make stuff up, really. I write from what I see. So it's in my life.
Yeah.
So it's in everything that I write.
It's so meaningful the way you're saying that. Can you share a song, one of your songs with us
Yes,
now?
I'm going to play I Broke the Law.
Oh, this is one of my absolute favorites. Just give our listeners a quick nutshell of what this is about so they know.
It was inspired by a bunny rabbit who I was looking after for a month in London, and the Shack 7. Is that right? Shack 7?
Yeah, the Shack 7.
And, bunny rabbits are very abused in lab testing. And I knew about the Shack 7, and I kept looking at this lovely bunny that I was looking after, and I wrote the song in London while I was looking after him.
So enough of this talk, Joy. I really want to hear the song.
I do too.
Will you play it for us?
Okay. I Broke the Law.
Dressed in black against the night, we're taking back those who we know can be saved. Oh, across the fields and away we go, breaking the laws the only way. Followed my heart, but I broke the law. Cut the fence, and in a flash we're inside the place, unlocking lives of despair. Run and hold on tight, knowing we have to take care. But oh, something's wrong. The floodlights are coming on. They're gaining on us. We won't be free for very long. With no disgrace, give my regrets to my mother and the rest. Say I followed my heart, but I broke the law. A savior, my heart's pounding, I can see here. It's too late for me, though I've tried. So breathe, little one, feel the soft rain for the first time fall. I let you go, and goodbye. But oh, it's not over, 'cause I want the world to see there'll still be reasons we ended up here anyway. With no disgrace, give my regrets to my mother and the rest. Say I followed my heart. Oh, with no disgrace and no regrets to my mother and the rest. Say I followed my heart, but I broke the law.
That was unbelievable. It's so beautiful.
I'm all for Clem's.
And there's just so much in that song of the passion of people and that they don't know what to do. And now there are so many things that people can do to change the world for animals, but people sometimes feel desperate with the plight of animals. And
it can be
the
really
horror.
overwhelming.
It really can.
When you uncover the truth.
It really can. And that song just expresses that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that,
Thank
Joy.
you so much. It was so amazing. I hope you'll stick around and play us out.
I will.
I'm so glad. Thank you for being here today, Joy and Jose,
Thank you for having
and
me.
everyone watching. And that's it from us today at our Hen House.
It just as a reminder, we do have a weekly podcast too, and we're over 220 episodes strong. So join our podcast family at ourhenhouse.org, as well as on iTunes and Stitcher.
And happy birthday, honey!
Thank you.
I got lipstick on you, and we look forward to seeing you with a brand new show next week. But for now, Joy, please play us a song, would you?
Use your coat for mine, coat for mine, coat for mine. Some may say that it's a crime, feels divine, looks alright. My eyes, I'm gonna lay on a feather bed, lambskin rug, stain it red, eat the body and leave the head, as long as we're all fed. My eyes, don't ask me to change my ways, I think you're trying to upset my day. Why don't you do something of worth instead of standing there while children starve on earth? I'm going out to walk the dog, I don't care where my boots come from. Keep it real, I want nothing fake, it's only bloody fashion for heaven's sake.